The following program contains views that are not those of WVTC, iNetworks Communications, their subsidiaries, affiliates, or financial supporters.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Praise the Lord, praise the Lord. How are everybody out there? I pray your day is blessed. Welcome to Ril Inspirational Radio. I am Bishop Sherman Henderson, Senior Pastor of Revival in the Land Missionary Baptist Church, located at 9134 South on Cottage Grove.
And good morning. I am Evangelist Marquise Holyfield. Super excited to be with you all today. As it is, we're finishing up Valentine's Day week. So super excited to be here with you all and have a happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. We got an exciting show. If you don't know, today is the day, Real Love Day at Revival in the Land. It's from 3 to 7. It's for seniors, it's for couples, it's for anybody who wants to come out and have some good, clean fun. We have good food on tap for everybody, and you will enjoy it every year. It's a good event. And I just want to do a shout out to missionary Latanya Green because she coordinates. And if you need some coordination done, definitely her number is on the flyer for RSVPing. And you can keep that if you are interested in her coordinating your event. She does a fantastic job. And I mean, you could not get better coordination if you went to high-end Beverly Hills. So It's really good time. Thank you. Shout out to Latanya Green, missionary Latanya Green.
Yeah, she's extraordinary with decorations and themes, and you name it, she can do it. Tanya is excellent. And it'll be a fun-filled time, full of games and food and music and good time. As we say, this is a good event where you can just come out and have some good, clean fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we got what's on tap for the show today. Want to give us a breakdown of what we're going to talk about?
We got, of course, y'all know, we all have to talk about the end of me and Bishop's favorite sport for the season. Football season has finally ended, and we're a little upset. So we'll talk about highlights of the game and halftime show, y'all.
Yes.
And then we'll talk about some of the things that happened later in the week from after the Super Bowl that was just kind of like interesting, and just very sad just to see, the shooting that happened at the parade in Kansas City. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We also will talk about there was a shooting at Lakewood Church, Joe Osteen this week. So we'll
praying
talk
for Lakewood.
Yeah, so we're praying for them. And then of course, in the news, we'll talk about all the stuff in the news. So we know our former president is all in the news for the last couple of days. And so this is going to be interesting. So this won't be about politics. This will be about the different civil cases and soon criminal cases that he has coming into play. So this will be interesting. And then, of course, we'll have our relationship conversation. So we're looking forward to that. And then we'll leave you with a word of inspiration, our spiritual topic. So we got a lot for y'all today.
Got a lot today.
Great day.
And this hour goes by really fast. So we pray that you'll stay with us. You can actually go into the WVTC app and let us know, hey, Latrice, happy Saturday to you too, girl. You can leave comments and we will shout you out if you drop a comment for us. So Super Bowl. So
okay. So really last week we was all sitting here talking about who you got, and me and Bishop both said we knew Patrick Mahomes was going to win. Yeah. It was a good game, y'all. Because I'm gonna be honest, I wanted Lamar to be a Super Bowl, so I was kind of like, okay, it's Super Bowl, but I was more excited for Usher than the game itself, which is weird because I love football. But then the game got really good when it got super duper close. I said, what, Patrick, you gonna let them beat you?
Yeah, it was close. It was close for a while.
It was close for a long while.
The thing that got me was interesting that they pulled it out at the very end. And that's the thing I talk about. When you are a winner, the one thing you do is you find a way to win. And that's not just football, that's life. When you take a defeated approach or when you try to live in neutral, and not do the best you can, what often happens is you wind up losing. There's a clip on TikTok, and it shows people who have been winning races, and then they turn around and look to see how everybody else is running, and then somebody run past them. So in life, you got to stay engaged, stay in lane, and focus on your game and not your opponent.
That's true. Renard, you're right. The Super Bowl wasn't there, but all of us was going like, oh my God. Because I was like, what was going on? I was like, what is going on right here? But it was an awesome game. It was great to see them win. And, you know, they're a dynasty now, as they say. They are a dynasty. And it was good to see that, you know, in the end, again, like Patrick Mahomes always does, he thanked God, he thanked his family, and it really was a really good, wholesome fun.
Now, the only thing that kind of got me that was weird, but the NFL loved it because they got free publicity, was the Taylor Swift thing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Every time something happened, it went to Taylor Swift. And I'm like, we came here for the game.
How many times we got to see Taylor?
Yeah. And then, so
but again, I do have to say, you know, it has benefited the NFL because it was more women that says they watched the Super Bowl and started watching football just so they could see Taylor Swift. So I guess Taylor Swift, thank you. You brought more women into the game that maybe never would have even thought about football.
Well, and I should be in there too because I seen women who was at there. I was at a Super Bowl event and I was asking people who they were going for, and they were saying, "Oh, I just came to see Usher." I'm like, "Wait a second, you just came to see Usher?"
Yes.
So
let's talk about that. Oh my God, halftime show was amazing.
Yes, I
amazing. You know, it's funny. I think somebody put it up. One of the best halftime shows.
Second best that I could. Well, third best that I could ever think of. Michael, the first is Prince.
Oh,
when Prince started singing Purple Rain and it started raining. I'm like, oh man, they could not have scripted that better. And then Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he did really too.
Michael Jackson was really good.
And you know what?
And then Usher.
I loved Usher. It was amazing. You know, from the different costume changes, him on roller skates, him singing, him bringing out all the different guests and so forth. But what I thought was amazing was that I didn't realize that, you know, I'm a Her fan. And I didn't realize that all this time that Her was playing the guitar music on his song. So it was like crazy. And that's before she even came out as a solo artist.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, because that song has been out for years.
Right, but I'm saying that she did the actual music on the real record. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So
it was like, okay.
And she's been, for her to be so young, she has been around. They showed that she sung the national anthem at a 49ers game when she was like 9. Right.
She's been around for a long time.
For a while to be so young.
But you know, it's funny. I was telling one of my friends that her talent reminds me of the same talent as Prince. Because Prince, you all know, can play any instrument and as well as vocals and so forth. And she has that same ability. From the organ to the guitar to the, you know, she
sung a serenade to Elton John and sung his song better than he did to me. Even he started crying that she did. She was on the piano, so she's very talented.
She's quite talented. So
now, what did you think though? Because a lot of talk was about the sexual energy between Usher and Alicia Keys.
That's all played up. You know, Alicia Keys in love with her husband.
Right.
And did we hear that Usher got married after the game?
Immediately after the game.
So come on, y'all.
It was a performance.
Y'all have to learn how, like, good friends do. Y'all, they play games. it's fun.
Just like Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Remember, everybody thought they were going to run away together. You know, absolutely.
Oh, Latrice said the Super Bowl was good, so her team lost. We're sorry, Latrice.
We're sorry, Latrice. Sorry about that. There was no wardrobe malfunction.
Yes, right. No Janet Jackson going on. No Janet Jackson going on.
And then, so, it was a lot of talk around Usher and Alicia Keys, but it was just acting. No more than if anybody was acting at any other time. But did you see that piano?
Yes.
Oh, that piano. I'm not an instrument guy, but I knew that piano had to be custom made. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was just amazing. So it was just kind of one of those things. It's like, okay.
So no football till next year, except when we see whether the Bears are going to keep Justin Fields. My personal opinion is that I think they should keep him, but I don't think they are going to keep him.
Well, I'm just going to say this. Mark it here. Y'all here. Today's February 17, 2024. If the Bears releases Justin Fields and he goes to another team, guaranteed next year, whatever team he going to be in, he going to be on the Super Bowl and he going to win.
Yep.
And he going to beat the mess out of the Bears and they're going to be hurt.
And Caleb Williams is probably going to be a bust, right?
Yep.
Because how big was the Bears on Mitch Trubisky? They traded up to get him, gave away the farm to get Mitch Trubisky.
But then this is the thing that I would have to say, and as a longtime Bear fan, I need them to think about this. You all keep talking about your quarterbacks. Y'all keep talking about y'all defense. Y'all keep talking about all y'all players. But I'm going to need y'all to look at, in actuality, what is it that y'all doing behind the scenes that's not working for these quarterbacks, these offensive players, and our linemen? Because why is it that they start off great and then they would work with the coach or work with the team, and then all of a sudden after year 2, it's a mess. And then they go somewhere else and they dominate. So y'all need to start looking at your own house before y'all start trying to say that it's the player itself.
And just think about it. Justin had 2 coaches, 4 offensive coordinators. So it's not fair to him. But I think they are going to take Caleb Williams first, and they're going to do it. And it's going to be all about money because they don't have to pay Justin that big money. They can spend it other places and have a quarterback they think is nearly as good. But,
but then y'all going to go through the same thing. It's going to be repeat. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say, because Trubisky, this is a repeat. Now he's somewhere else doing just fine.
Yeah. So what do we got on the agenda? So we're going to talk. Well, we'll see you next year on football season.
Next year on football. We'll start talking about basketball highlights on the next game. So y'all, those of y'all who like basketball, be ready.
Be ready.
We're going to start talking about that.
Kansas City shooting. Now, I saw it on TV.
So doing the celebration parade, after every time every team wins a Super Bowl, the city does a parade downtown in the streets. So so there was basically a mass shooting. Someone started shooting in the crowd.
Did they find the person?
Now that part I don't know.
Or did they find a motive for the shooting?
I don't think they even found a motive for the shooting, but they said that people were injured. I know Patrick Mahomes and so forth. None of the team players and stuff were injured, but people in the crowd were injured.
But the one person that they knew that they confirmed did was a local DJ down there. She was a DJ, and she was a mother, and somehow she was one of the ones that was shot and injured, and that's a tragedy. My heart goes out to that family. I was just trying to find out what was going on, whether, because sometimes things happen at events and 2 people get in there and it escalate. Or did somebody come there with intention to shoot?
I don't know. It sounds like they didn't give a whole lot outside of the shooting when it happened. That people were injured. That there was, someone who died. That's it. You haven't heard a whole lot, so we know that there's more investigation going on. But it was just like crazy. It's like, okay, they went to Super Bowl, they had a party, and then all of a sudden they got this tragic event going on.
It's a shame that you can have
can't have a good time no more.
But the only thing that gave me pause and why I was trying to find out about that, because I didn't get to really follow it through, is that the mayor of Kansas City specifically told Taylor Swift not to come. He told her not to come because he was concerned that not only would the people celebrating the Super Bowl come, but the Swifties would come too. The crowds would be too large, and that something might happen. And it's just interesting to me that something happened.
Anyway.
So I was wondering, did they have a tip that something was going to happen, or was it
that they have not said? We just know that this situation happened. So we're definitely praying for all the families and so forth, and praying for the city of Kansas City. And just hoping that, we can find more information out and figure out what's going on through the investigation.
Then my heart goes out to Joel Osteen. I'm always a Joel Osteen fan. In a minute, we're going to talk about motivational ministry. Is it biblical? But I'm a Joel Osteen fan. And I listen to Joel Osteen. I find his messages to be inspirational. And so my heart goes out. Did you hear about the shooting that was there?
Yes. So a 35-year-old woman who had a history of mental illness. I don't know if she was a member of the church or not, but she also came with her 5-year-old son, I believe, and went into the church and started shooting right before the Spanish-speaking only service started, and injured 5 people, including her.
5 people were injured. Her, the child, and then 3 other people because the security team
was able to
the
take her
person
down
right away, right? And I say the person because I'm understanding that this person was a transsexual, and they something about that, and they had some mental issues, and the family knew that this person had some mental issues, and so I don't know if that person targeted the church as much as the church became a convenient place to act out that scenario.
Because they said they don't think the person belonged to the church or had any affiliations because no one knew who they were. So, it's one of those things too. And we're just grateful that, they were able to stop the individual and not more people were injured or harmed.
If I'm understanding right, only her and the child were fatally injured. Is that correct? Or was
the child fatally injured? Because I heard the child was shot. So maybe the child died later?
We'll find out.
We'll find out from you.
It just speaks to mental illness, and a lot of people that have mental illness. And the sad thing that I was hearing is that the family knew that this person may act out,
right,
and didn't get them any help. So if you know somebody out there struggling with mental health and they need help, get them some help. Don't assume that you can control it, or they never did anything, so they won't do anything this time. Especially if they got firearms, please, please, please. There is a number that you can report people who you believe may need some support when it comes to that area. But if somebody has mental illness, they should not have firearms. So that's
very much so. And so we ask you all to continue to give people that help and support that they need, and understand mental illness is an illness. It is a disease.
The brain is sick. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's people need, just like you need medicine to heal you when you have a cold or when you're going through any other illnesses, the same thing. You need some type of health treatment. And
everybody will have some mental health episode in their life. Whether, some people have clinical issues like schizophrenia and things like that, but mostly everybody has a bout with depression.
Yeah, anxiety,
grief. And so I'm so glad that now society is recognizing that, and a lot more health plans are including at least some minimum baseline of mental health services for their members, because I think that it was overlooked for a while. And in my grieving process that I've been going through, the one thing that I have become sensitive to is that, just about everybody on this planet is grieving something or somebody. I think this, how to say, all things work together for the good. Naturally, my grieving circumstance isn't good, but the good that came out of it is that I'm more sensitive to those around me who grieve.
So. That's true. So we do continue to pray for all the people at Lakewood, the family members, and those who are dealing with mental health issues, and hoping that people continue to be able to get the help and resources that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. This one ain't on the agenda, but I guess Chicago's cutting off Shot Spotter.
Oh yeah, which I don't even understand.
Yeah, it's not on our notes, but I just wanted to bring that one up.
They breaking up with the contract. And people are like, why are you breaking up the contract? Supposedly it's accurate. Supposedly it does what it's supposed to do.
So why are they cutting it off?
I don't know. Probably money.
It's probably money.
I'm not even sure it's money.
I'm guilty of being objective to a fault, right? So I am objective, and you can have a good tool, but if it costs way more than it's worth to support that tool, then I can see it. I don't know. The way that I see it is that Spot Shadow gave them the opportunity to identify when a gun was fired, and I thought that would increase response times, right? That's what I'm thinking. It would increase response times, better chance of catching the criminals. So I don't know why they're turning it off. I would love to have more information about why they turn it off.
They said that they want to spend more money towards a carjacking technology. Okay.
So they don't get
that's
jacking spotter.
So the jacking spotter or whatever. Okay.
But now,
thank you, Renard. We appreciate that.
Because the thing about it is, if you think about it, one of the things that they did broadcast on the news is they have had several instances of somebody getting out and damaging like 25, 30 cars at a time.
I know.
And carjackings are
way up. Well, you have to think about it. I recently passed by a scrapyard. I was going somewhere, and I saw scrapyard metal prices. Like if you bring in scrap metal, you get top dollar right now.
Really?
So if you think about it, you take the pieces off people's cars and so forth and sell it
catalytic converters.
Y'all that you working with, you getting some good dough, especially since it was interesting. Me and my significant other was just talking about this. Where recently, Whoopi Goldberg had put up something about the generations after me and you, Bishop, and they was talking about Generation Z and I'm X. Okay, so it's the other one. It's millennials and Generation Z. That's what it was, and how they're not hardworking enough. How she said that they are a little lazy. They don't want to put as much work. And then someone in that, but then this is the thing. She left it up on her Instagram. It was a young man who responded back to her and said where he had to disagree with that because he wanted her to understand that when our parents bought houses and so forth, the cost of living and things were so much different. And so the house that only cost our parents $50,000 and maybe cost us $100,000 to buy, now it's $200,000, almost $300,000 for that same house, and then food and so forth. So he says it's not that we're not working hard enough, the economy, and so everything has gone up so much that it seems like that we're not working as hard to obtain the goals or be able to be maintained. It's harder to maintain because the pay has stayed the same, but the expenses have gone way up. And so I bring that up to think about like metal prices and so forth in our economy. We're seeing so much crime and so forth because lack of resources, people are not being able to afford basic needs things. And so we're seeing this crunch.
And I'm wondering if it's just a shift to, because with the legalization of marijuana and the relaxing of thoughts toward narcotics, did that drive some people out of one business into another? Because think about it, criminals gonna find if they came out with automated cars or whatever, the next thing they might do is start taking people's body parts. So criminals are gonna be criminals, right? So it's just interesting that shift happened right about the same time, and I'm wondering, like, is there a connection between the two? Because carjacking are, and the thing about it is when they do find the carjackers, they're so young.
They are, and a lot of them are saying, not. I'm putting a disclaimer out there. We're not putting anything against the video game world or the video technology. Just saying what the children are saying. They're saying that when they play Grand Theft Auto and all those type of games similar to that they get a thrill, they get a high, so then they want to do it in real life to see if they get the same thrill, the same high.
Yeah, I've heard that. Matter of fact, that was on a Channel 2 special that they had when they got the carjackers, and that's what they said. That is the adrenaline rush, and acting out the game in reality is more of a boost, almost like a high. And if you think about it, that's what it is. You have 4 or 5 people riding around, jumping out of a car. Did you see the lady that was assaulted? She was walking up the street.
Oh yes, the lady in all the way up north in Jefferson Park. I continue to pray for her and her family. Absolutely. Yeah, she was a young mother and wife on her way to work. It was early in the morning. She was walking toward the train, minding her own business. She was being aware and so forth. 3 young men jumped out of a car, pretty much beat her down, stole her phone. And then she was looking for help and nobody was there to help her and calling out and so forth. They stole the phone. And then what made it worse is they realized that her phone was password protected. So then they came back and beat her some more so that she would give them the PIN number to her phone. Because, nowadays, most people have everything attached to their phone. So I know some of the phone makers, I know Apple is doing this and so forth. I don't know what Samsung is doing. But I know Apple has started to do something where it's protecting your information data. So even if people get your PIN, they have to have, I think, biometrics or something else.
Secondary authentication.
Before it releases.
Right, which I think is good. It's helpful. But now does that mean people are going to kidnap people instead? So criminals are always going to find a way to be criminals. And it's just really, really sad.
Yeah, James said so true.
Yeah,
right.
It's just really, really sad. When I seen that, I was, my heart went out that nobody stopped to help the lady.
Yeah.
If somebody's waving, it'd be different if you seen people around her. But if somebody is stopping and waving, I'm going to at least roll down my window because she didn't look like a threat to me. I get it that sometimes people will do decoys where they'll have somebody looking innocent and vulnerable, and you get out to help them, and then some people jump out the bushes and mug you. So I get that.
What the police have said in the past is that if you're in a situation where you need assistance, you're never supposed to holler out help, because when you call out help, people don't come. But if you holler out fire, everybody and their mama come when it comes for a fire.
Okay. So, all right. So we are going to get into our next topic: understanding your partner. All right.
Okay, you decided not to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna go to understanding your
Next.
partner. Next,
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about that. Okay. So, as you all know, Bishop and I always had a relationship conversation question. So
Absolutely.
we were really talking about like understanding your partner. And so this came about because we both saw this Instagram post, and it was by Dr. Miles. And so Dr. Miles was talking about like, in order to have a healthy, thriving relationship, you need more than just love.
Right.
Because he was like, if you think that love is going to be the one thing that sustains you in a marriage and with a relationship, he said, I can tell you right now, you just be ready for it to dissipate and just away. And so what he was saying was, you needed these three things. The first thing he said, you needed knowledge, you needed understanding, and then he said you needed wisdom.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting when he really talked about that. So when he talked about knowledge, this is the piece that really got me, and I was kind of fascinated by it. He said knowledge is you need all the different tools. He said, so what are you reading? What are the things that you're learning, taking into yourself to help you to be able to grow, to get to the next step, which is understanding your partner. So yes, you need to read books, you need to do some research, we talk about love languages, communication styles, Bishop talks about even attachment styles. We need to learn all these different things to help us understand. And then I always put, because Bishop and I and our engineer was having a conversation before we started the show today about women don't understand men and men don't understand women. And it's like, and then I think that's the thing that becomes that rub in the relationship, because it's like, well, the man thinks this way and the woman like, why are you thinking that way? And then the woman thinks the opposite way, and then the man like, why are you thinking that way? And then it sometimes becomes an argument, sometimes it becomes miscommunication, and then sometimes it can be a very point of contention in the relationship. So he's saying if you get the knowledge, then you get some understanding, then the wisdom part comes into play, because then you do the application piece.
Absolutely. Because what happens in any relationship is you have to learn who you're with, because everybody comes to the table from their cellular perception, and they come with their own baggage. And so some things are just cultural, right? So you can have somebody who comes from one culture, and I'll give you with my significant other, a big thing is opening doors. Like I'm coming from, some people that's not a value. Some people like, okay, just walk through the door, right? But that is a value for some people. If you're not giving your significant other what they need, then it starts causing a lapse, and it may even start causing micro resentments, right? And those micro resentments is what build up to major resentment, which breaks down the relationship. So I think that when you're in a relationship, and he was right, is that you have to learn each other. You have to learn each other, because one person can't be making all deposits all the time and one taking all withdrawals. If you're going to have a relationship, both parties have to give deposits and withdrawals. I have to give, making sure that I'm at least listening, right? I got a responsibility to listen, to understand what my significant other wants. Not necessarily that I do it, but I do need to have more empathy. In other words, know where they're coming from and what motivations make that up, right? If you have a significant other that, for instance, may be a vegan, and you want to take them to a steak restaurant, well, taking them to a steak restaurant may have been something romantic to do. It wasn't romantic for them. As we're going to talk about, when we talk about toxic people, it's not necessarily that people are evil as much as just that there is a conflict in value.
Yes, James, you're right. You talked about that, so true. Yeah, it is. It's that conflict in values, and I think it's one of those things that we have to take this step back. As we always talk about earlier, when we first started the show beginning of the year, we talked about, understanding yourself, knowing what it is that you want. We talked about being unequally yoked and what all those different pieces come into play. But it is right. I think this other thing that God is helping us to understand in relationships too, that they're not going to always be smooth.
Yeah. And neither are they designed to be.
Right, and I think
Yeah.
right, and James talked about us and compromise and don't sweat the small stuff. You're
That's
right,
right.
and that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Like I think those are the things that we sometimes get so invested in the relationship, we forget that there's a honeymoon phase, there's going to be a rocky phase, and there's going to be a phase where we able to be in congruency and working together, and we got a happy medium, and we kind of move in, throughout life. And I think sometimes we get so addicted to the honeymoon phase that the first time we get to the place of, oh, this is difficult.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, we got to break up. Yep. You
we got to break up.
All right, find somebody different. You
right. Thanks, Jill. Great. Jill says great advice. But we feel like that it's become so difficult, and then we want to be like, oh my God, I can't deal with her. I can't deal with him. But it's like, okay, take a step back, and I appreciate, like when I leave, I gotta go apologize to my significant other. But I appreciate the men in the room today because I came in with a situation that was really bothering me, and I was frustrated about it. But then they flipped it on his head and say, okay, well, I need you to take it from his point of view. And me being the woman, I would have never, I'd have been like, and then it was the one thing that I got that made me really think about this. Would he do that for you? And I was like, yeah. And then I had to pause because it was like, okay, you frustrated, but pause. So if he would do that for you, so the fact that he would do it for this other person, yes, Latrice, I'm still learning, girl. But the fact that he would do this for this other person lets you know the character, the value, and who the man he is, and that's me starting to understand my partner.
And that's, and if I could jump in, not just saying your situation, but what happens is that oftentimes so much we are so self-focused that we sometimes don't see the broader implications. Like, it's a value to be dedicated or to be loyal or to that's a character trait. Mm-hmm. And so, but balance, right? Because everything, you do everything out of balance, and that's part of learning your mate. You have to learn, and they have to learn, because what'll happen over time with situations like that is that they will interpret it, or somebody could interpret that you're disregarding their feelings.
Yeah.
Like, you discounted my feelings. What, how I feel don't matter. And they start feeling like they're almost like furniture, like every time you walk in this room, this table gonna be here.
Right.
And that's not how people is. People aren't possessions, So, we have to learn to work together on things,
And that's when that listening piece comes into play, and that's that piece of putting it in each other's shoes. And this is why we also say, I always tell people that when you are in relationships, you don't want a lot of people in your relationship. That's A. But B, you do need to make sure that you are around godly filled wisdom people. And I'm going to say this, and people are going to say, think I'm wrong. If you're married, it should be somebody that's also married.
Absolutely.
And if you are dating, it should be somebody who's already in a relationship. Do not take, and this is just, sorry singles if you get me, but do not take advice from a single person if you marry, and do not take advice from a person when you not.
I'm single.
Yeah, you single, but you also in a relationship.
I was married for 35 years, and
right.
I got you.
So but this is the thing. Both of us have been married before, and different situations. Right. But this is the thing. It's some lessons that were learned there. But the other key factor of it is that don't take sound advice from individuals that have not been in your situation.
Yeah.
Only the shooter who was killed in the shooting. Okay.
So thank God that child survived.
Thank you, Franklin.
Thanks, Franklin.
Yeah.
But so understanding the other person is really, really important. I think that do go both ways, and I'm also a believer in having counseling. I'm just a big believer in having counseling, because I think that gives that impartial voice that sometimes people need, right? And so and then you have to have rules about how you're going to disagree, because you're going to disagree. It's going to happen. And you can't go nuclear. What I find out is that when people argue, most times it's not even about that specific issue. It becomes about, but what about the time you did that?
Right.
What about the time you did
let
that?
go?
right? The micro,
or they haven't forgiven. And so we talk about, and we always wonder why God always talk about forgive as forgive as I have forgiven you. And then you'd be like, okay, God, but they did this, that, and the third. And God's like, well, you done this, that, and the third. But I think the real part is what God is really teaching us in forgiveness is, we always say forgiveness is for you, but forgiveness is also so that you can be in a place of healing, so that you can be able to let go. Because the more you hold on to, the more you're not allowed to let in.
Exactly. And when we talk about Frankenstein's, about who should you have counsel you should make sure that you have firstly, a godly person and with some godly wisdom. And you also should have somebody, what I often say, you ought to vet the person who's giving you the advice, right? Because you can't, if you ask somebody how to cook a cake and you had a cake of theirs and it wasn't good, I would ask them for advice on how to cook a cake.
Yes.
So you want to make sure you have counseling from, I often say professionals, but even in that, you need, every professional don't specialize in everything. So you need to find the right person. I'm going through a situation now where I'm on my third counselor, because I'm getting counseled for grief. I'm on my third one, because I need somebody who I can connect with, who I'm comfortable with, and also who fits my communication style.
And counseling, that's key. You need to make sure you have a rapport. You need to make sure that somebody that you can trust and be vulnerable with, be open with, and feel like that they have a full understanding. But you want them to have the credentials and things that they need to be able to do. But it's like counseling is a relationship. You need to make sure you got the right fit.
Tanisha, very important to have counseling. And I would say not only just relationship counseling, financial counseling.
Yes.
Career counseling. I'm a big believer in having career coaches to help you get a strategy about your career, right? So I just believe in counseling in multiple areas because we don't know everything, and sometimes and we can't see our blind spot. That's the other thing. As people, we
because we can't see, and sometimes blind spots, the flaws, whatever some people say, your issues. Issue. Yes, Renard says yes. Should it be a family member or someone that knows you? No, it should be somebody that's neutral.
Yeah, somebody who doesn't have. Here's the one thing that I found out about counseling, and that I was going through, everybody, was going through grief and everything else. And what I had to be careful is that when you counsel somebody, not only are they listening to you, but they also have their agenda for being in the counseling session. And so you have to watch out that you get somebody who's neutral and impartial that can give you impartial advice, because sometimes when you listen to people, it's not so much that they're giving you the best advice for you, they're giving you the best advice for them, right?
Yeah.
How many times do you hear, and definitely don't beat me up, ladies, don't send me no evil mail, everything else, but how many times do you hear a lady give another lady advice like, girl, you don't need no man to do nothing for you. You can do it by yourself. Me and the dogs and this, that, and the other. Well, that's for them because misery loves company. They don't want to be lonely.
Right. And it's so funny because we was watching a comedy show last night. It was an old one. It was an old comic on there. And some of the things that she was saying in regard to relationships and so forth, I was kind of like, it kind of took me back. And I was like, ooh, that's not good. I was like, how many thousands of people listening to you right now say all this toxic negativity, and it's just women that's bringing us in. And I was like, this is why we got some of the behaviors that we see out here. So it's one of those things to be key and important. And that's what the last step talks about, the wisdom. So he talked about it as the wisdom, as the application process, but it's also the wisdom to know what is it that you're doing to make sure you're walking in sound doctrine, sound counseling, sound step processes for the relationship, for it to be healthy. Because again, you don't want to be taking counseling or advice for individuals who lean too far to their own biases. Because one of the things, as we learned when I went to school for counseling, we learned that we had to put all of our biases in our back pocket, and you had to sit on them, and then that's what they had to be. So, and if you could not do that, you had to be honest with your client and say, okay, I can't counsel you because I got this situation going on. It's the ethical piece of it. Right. So you just want to make sure about that piece too. And then Tanisha says, yes, every line has their strengths in certain areas. And that's true. And that's, you definitely want to make sure that. And then James talks about counseling does help, and it does. Yeah. So I think it's key and important to make sure that, get somebody neutral, get somebody who's not going to play favorites, get somebody who doesn't have a swing idea about which way it should go. And then also get somebody that's listening to both of you all. You know, when they talk about when you do couples counseling, a lot of times the counselor, a good sound counseling should have some sessions with you by yourself, your significant other by themselves, and then bring you all together to talk. Because what sometimes they do find out is if when you try to do everything all in one session, you're not hitting each other right. Tisha says it's help to hear someone else give you guidance that you need. Can't always be a prophet in your own language. That's right, girl. Come on. Counseling strengthens your wisdom and understanding in an unbiased environment.
Because when naturally being a pastor, I counsel people. And so it's some rules that I follow. I try never to tell people what to do. What I try to do is I try to give them the tools to make a decision on their own. Because when you tell people what to do and it don't work, the first thing they do is they come back and say, had I not listened to you, this wouldn't happen. Right. You know, you take ownership. Whereas when you counsel people and you help them process, it's not a matter of what I want to do. It's a matter of what do you want to do. And also here's to help someone who give you guidance that you need. Can't always be a prophet. You know, right? Exactly. So that's what I believe in. I hear so many times when people telling people what to do. Somebody say, "I don't know what to do. Should I marry so and so?" I'm not going to tell you to marry them. I'm not going to tell you not to marry. But what I'm going to ask you is, why do you want to get married, right? Or what is your reservation from getting married? And then talk through those things, because sometimes it could just be cold feet. Sometimes it can be anxiety, right? The future, when you think about the future, you can be overwhelmed. And as we know, our brains are not designed to make us happy. No. Being happy is a choice we have to make, and we have to plan. Our minds are designed to keep us safe. But keeping us safe often means trying to stay status quo and not taking risks, not taking opportunities when they come, because you know what, it's better for me to just stay at McDonald's because I know how to make a 2 all beef patty sauce with cheese, rather than me opening my own restaurant. So we have to help people to make their decision. What's your motivation? What outcome are you seeking? Because think about it, a lot of people stay in bad and toxic relationships because that bad and toxic relationship is dependable.
Right. That's that stable comfortability. And, you know, we always talked about, Bishop teaches this all the time, it's okay to be uncomfortable. And I think we get so used to being comfortable that we don't want to branch out. We want to take a risk. And I say this all the time when I have my groups and we talk about relationship conversations all the time. And one of the things we talk about is it is okay to be uncomfortable. It is okay to take a risk. Love is a risk. And I need people to understand that if you are in a relationship, okay, we'll talk about that one second, Renard. But it's one of those things of like, if you are in a relationship, you have to be prepared and ready that it's going to be a risk.
I can answer that real quick. First one, money. Yeah. Right. Physical compatibility, whether too much, little, physical compatibility. And the last one is just series of conflicts and that's not able to be resolved.
Yep.
Those three drivers.
And the inability to be able to communicate.
Yes.
So it's one of those things that I tell people all the time is that you have to be ready to take the risk. You have to be ready to be okay to be hurt. And I know people say, Marquise, why do you say that? Because when you open your heart out to be loved or to be hurt, now you're letting your guard down. And that one thing of where our bodies is comfortable and our bodies in this place of fear, we're letting those things go. And then we're allowing all the good things to come in, right. And then we're allowing to try new things. So then you open for something new, try new things together, right, Jane? So you're ready to try those new things together and explore. And
you have to make a choice. Everybody has to make a choice. To me, it is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all, right? And so, but what happens over time, people get jaded and bitter about that. And I love this line from an India Arie song called The Truth. And in it, she says that if the person left her, she wouldn't be mad because there's a lesson in every blessing. And she's glad that she knew that person at all. And that's kind of the approach that we have to take. Sometimes when relationships end, we get jaded. They did this, we get offended. The spirit of offense kicks in and we are owed justice, right? But sometimes you have to just realize that sometimes the universe just teaches you lessons.
And that's where that wisdom comes into
Well,
play.
God teaches you lessons.
Eric Robinson has a song called Lessons, and I think it's for the lessons. But it's one of those things that I think is key and important for us to think about is in those lessons, what did you learn?
Yeah.
And then what are the things that you can take from that relationship that didn't work out, from that marriage that didn't work out, and put it into this new thing so that you develop confidence, self-worth, and you're not broken.
Because relationship ends. When people have trouble dating, they start thinking that they are broken, but you're not broken. You're learning, right? Like maybe the Lord put you with somebody and you fell in love with them and they're a terrible cook and you broke up. Well, when you find somebody that can cook, you're going to appreciate the fact that they're a good cook.
Right. Or if you was in a relationship and you didn't have great communication.
Yes.
That's going to be one of your number one things in your new thing to be like, okay, I didn't like the fighting all the time. I want to be able to communicate and express myself. So you're going to take the knowledge, develop the understanding to apply the wisdom of good communication.
Absolutely. Again, you had one relationship with somebody who weren't big on public displays of affection, and now you're in a new relationship with somebody who's into that. That's an adjustment, right? Because some people aren't affectionate. We all got our different love languages, and that's true. And so that's part of the wisdom and the application part that you want to get this not to weaponize it against the other person, but that you can proactively go about being a blessing to that other person.
Exactly.
I'm one of my love languages is gifts. So I always like to buy gifts, right? But if you give somebody a gift and they look at it and be like, that's okay, you'd be like, wow, you feel jilted, right? And so we have to learn to appreciate the other person, and that anything that they do for us is not owed to us. That's what happens in relationships, especially marriages. If you ever notice, and I apologize, but I don't want to go on, but you ever notice people who they can go together for 20 years and then they get married and they divorce the next week?
I know. It's right. Tanisha said something that was effective. She says effective communication is important, and having a foundation grounded and rooted in the Lord.
Yeah,
True.
absolutely.
Definitely much so. You need that. And it's one of those things that, you help us to understand each other and also realize there are going to be moments where you're not going to get along. There are going to be moments, but it's that fighting together piece, that working together piece, and understanding, I recently, and we're going to go to the next segment, 2 seconds.
No, this ties in. This actually ties into what we're talking about.
So what it was funny. So recently, me and my significant other just went to go see the Bob Marley movie, One Love. Absolutely great. And so one of the things that we loved about the movie is him and his wife, Rita's relationship. They went through a lot of stuff, from outside forces to inside forces to their own behaviors. But when the chips were down, when they needed each other the most, they were there for each other. And it was funny. And the key factor, we both walked away. He was like, "We just found out what real love looked like."
Yeah, because that's what it's about, having each other's back.
Having each other back no matter what. And there were things that some people have deal breakers for that were happening in their marriage, but some way, shape, or form, they were able to work through that.
And I was going to talk to that when I talk about is someone marriageable, right? And it talks about what are those warning signs and green lights that people miss in relationships.
Well, first thing, warning signs, green lights. I would say these are the things I think you need to pay attention to. And I recently just saw this on an Instagram post. It was Pastor Keon and his wife Shawnee. And she talked about why she loved her husband. And she said, because we can do so much. She said, there's trust. He values me. He supports me. He encourages me. He has my back. But she said, but then we can do this. She said, we can just do the everyday things. She said, I enjoy going to the grocery store with him. I enjoy just sitting back doing nothing. She said, we can do all kinds of things together. She said, it's easy to love him.
Yeah. And the communication part that you talk about is important too. Like one of the green lights that I see is when you have a significant other where you don't even have to cut on the TV and you all can talk for hours.
Yes.
Hours. Just talk about things, and not always just things that you both agree on. Sometimes it could be things that you disagree on.
Yes.
But you can stay in the conversation and roll with it and have that communication. that one is huge. I believe that's a green light. For me, a red light is somebody who only always wants their way.
Yes.
You know, I hate nitpicking.
It's the
too.
little things, a compliment, holding your hand, etc. That's right.
Hey, man. But me, I hate nitpickers. You know, nitpickers are, hey, why do you cut your? Because like me, I eat backwards, right? So everybody in America eats with their right hand, except me. I eat with my left hand. But I'm just using an example of people that are nitpicking and that. Let the other person be themselves and be comfortable letting them be themselves. That other person isn't there to be just for you. You all in a relationship, and it's kind of like the Bible says that you all should be helpmeets for each other. Mm-hmm. You know, you should be able to encourage. Like me being a pastor and a bishop, my significant other isn't there just to support me in ministry. I want to be there to support her in whatever she got going on. Sure. You know,
and I think for me, one of those green lights is knowing that. Being able to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. It's a small little thing. But if you are in a relationship with someone who cannot admit their faults, that they made a mistake, or that you've gotten to the place where your partner's gotten to the place where they know themselves so well, and the Holy Spirit will prick you and convict you of even the smallest things for you to even understand.
Taking
accountability to tissue. And for you to understand, I said something I shouldn't have said. Yeah. Even if your partner didn't even realize that you said something out of pocket, they may have it didn't register for them. But the fact that it registered in you is enough for you to be like, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, and listening. When you talk about the listening part, because sometimes people they craft the answer without really listening to the question. They just responded. No, take the time to listen. Sometimes you don't have to make a decision right there. Sometimes you can table it and say, well, let me think about it. Or you can, when you get negative criticism, I'll preach it all the time.
I know.
Take the best
and leave the rest.
That's it. If somebody give me what I don't want to hear, if somebody telling me something that I absolutely don't want to hear, is there anything of value in that for me? At the same time, and that's that. The book we read, The Spirit of Offense.
Yes.
And I recommend that book because I quit getting offended by what other people say. Because spiritual maturity is when somebody don't like you, but you realize that you don't have to not like them back.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think one of the other green light for me is being able to always say, me and my significant other, we do this. We fight clean. And you're like, Marquise, what's fighting clean? Fighting clean is this thing where we can have a disagreement, but we're not going below the belt. Yeah, I'm not being petty with you. You're not being petty with me. I'm not bringing up nothing you did last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm not talking about your mama. I'm not talking about what happened in past relationships. I'm not even bringing up anything that happened that you told me in secret that you left as security in my heart. Because ladies, sometimes we have, and men do it too. We sometimes do this. We in an argument and we'll bring up who his mama was and what they said, this thing and that.
And that's why in third grade that person threw that tomato at you.
That's right.
They should have thrown it at you.
Boy, so and that's why you we talk about all kind of secret stuff.
Right.
That's a no. It's one of those things. How do you have an argument and be clean? And so you're not talking about each other or each other's faults, but just really talking about, well, baby, when you said this is how it made me feel. Right, and this was frustrating for me because of X, Y, and Z. It changed the dynamics of the conversation. Mm-hmm. It changes the dynamics of the relationship. And you'll see your arguments are a little bit more effective. Yeah. And Latrice said she gives the girl. I know we all used to do it.
And I like what you said when you said this is how you make me feel, because nobody can argue with you on how something feels. They can say that that's not a material fact or I didn't intend it that way, but they can never say that you're wrong with how you feel.
Right.
So we got about 5 minutes left, and I wanted to talk about this one because of the Joel Osteen shooting, but it just made me think of the larger context about motivational ministry.
Yes.
Motivational ministry. And motivational ministries are ones that tend to be life application ministries that focus on encouraging people and helping people become the best that they can be. Now, I ask that because I hear preachers say it all the time that, I'm not here to make you feel good, right? And I'm going to give you fire and brimstone. And every sermon is, sinners in the hand of an angry God, right? I think some people overread that one. Yeah, but motivational ministry, do you think it has a place?
I think it does have a place. I think like when we talk about relationships have the balance, I think we need a balance. You know, right now I'm in the process of reading a book. It's by John Beer. It's called The Awe of God. And he talks about how in the early 60s and 70s there was so much of it was either holiness or hell. And then later in a few decades it went from holiness to hell all the way to lawlessness. And he was like, and so people are like here and here, instead of understanding like we as Christians really need to be in a place where we have balance, but also we should love what God loves and hate what God hates, but not hate the sin. Hate the sin, not the sinner. And I think sometimes we feel that we like to live in this place of condemnation when it comes to, and instead of understanding that God has forgiven us from our sins.
Christianity can get weaponized and become real toxic real quick.
All the time. So it's like, how do you, and then so I see why people would enjoy the motivational piece of it, because like you Bishop said, Christianity gets weaponized all the time to say you going to hell, you ain't no good, you ain't good enough. And people internalize that, and then they get turned away from the Lord.
Right, because think about it. When you think about it, you've had 2 million people, and this isn't 10 years. You got 2 million people that no longer go to church that was going to church in 2020, that just 4 years later, 2 million people. And part of that is because sometimes, like, we know that the Bible definitely preaches against sin, but Jesus also taught love. He taught peace. Not only that, Jesus was one, and that's what I say. You can't look to people for the example of what preachers should be. You have to look at the Bible. And if you notice, the Pharisees was upset with Jesus because he had 120 people up in his house and half of them were sinners.
Yep.
But they were comfortable being in his presence. They didn't walk away from that encounter thinking, hey, let me be a worse person. They walked away from that encounter saying, I need to have a better relationship with God.
Right. And that's why the Word of God says love covers the multitude of sin. And I think sometimes we need to, as Christians and walk in our faith, and as we have evangelized to individuals, yes, the Bible tells us to go on the highways and hedges and compel those to come to Christ. But how are we compelling them to come to Christ? Are we compelling them to make them think that they're not worthy if they're not with Christ? Or are we showing them love and compassion so that they're drawn by the love and compassion to come to Christ?
And here's what I also believe. I also believe that God is diverse, and everything God does is diverse. You know, we get a revelation of the Spirit of God. You know, one had the face of a man, a lion. You know, had different faces, and I think that that's also true in how the Holy Spirit moves. Some people need deliverance ministry. Some people need fire and brimstone. They ain't gonna do better unless they get fire and brimstone. Sure. Some people need to be loved to God. Some people need to be shown God through acts of service. And I believe that the Holy Spirit uses all of those because people needs are different. So what I think is not one size fit all. I don't think it's either or. I believe it's this and that's what I believe, because you need balance, right? Somebody's robbing the store, you need to tell them, "Thou shalt not steal." And, you know, it's not gonna be like, well, you know, so, well, no, but everything ain't. You know, Paul said that, you know, if you see somebody fall, restore them in the spirit of love, right? Restore them in the spirit of love, right? Wow, time flies.
I know. It just feels like this hour goes so fast. We always get to the end of the show and be like, do we have enough time?
Yeah, absolutely. So the final word on that is that motivational ministry is part of ministry. It has its place to fit in with the whole genre of ministry. So today, 3 o'clock, 9134 South on Cottage Grove, Chicago, Illinois, Real Love Day. We want to see your face in the place. And we have service tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We will pray that you be there. 9134 South on Cottage Grove, 11 o'clock. We know that you will have a blessed word, and we pray you have a blessed day. You want to close us out?
Yes, you know, as we say, thank you all for everybody who was with us today. Tanisha, Latrice, and Renard, and James. Thank you so much for all of you all's great comments. We love having you all on the show. Continue to come back with us, invite more people. But we also want to say thank you for spending time with us this afternoon. We enjoyed y'all. Hopefully, we will see you all at Real Love Day. And if not, but you know, as we always say, don't meet us there, beat us there. Make sure we see you tomorrow at 9134 South Cottage Grove at Revival on the Land Missionary Baptist Church, where I guarantee you're going to get a word, and it's going to be a word that inspires you and encourages you throughout the week.
So pray to God bless you. Pray to have a smile upon you. Also want them to know that after church tomorrow, there will be a painting event, correct?
That is next Sunday.
That's next Sunday. Not this Sunday?
Next Sunday.
Okay.
So next Sunday, February 25th.
Okay.
From 2 to 4, we will be doing our vision board / prayer boards sponsored by our women's ministry. It's open to everyone, so not just the women, but we want women and men come out and do your vision board, set your tone. Like I said, I know we are in the second month, so this is usually when people really start to get serious about what it is that they're going to do. So set your goal, set your tone for what it is that you want to complete and accomplish, and then what it is that you're specifically asking God for in this season.
All right, so God bless you. Have a smile upon you. We'll see you this time next week.
All right. Thanks, James. See you guys.
See you guys.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Views made on the preceding program are not those of WVTC Radio, iNetworks Communications, or their financial supporters.
Winning victory through Christ. WVTC Allsip Chicago.